And if you're someone like me who has a type A personality when they are planning a trip or the travel, it is kind of driving me crazy how I cannot look up exactly the direction of how I can get around. I'm actually going to be flying with 4 different airlines for this trip, which is actually crazy. Hi friend, my name is Sarah and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I want to share with you all of the apps that I have downloaded in preparation for my very first trip to China. So the very first app that I've downloaded is WeChat, and I've actually been using this for a few years now. Ricky's family use WeChat to share videos, pictures of our niece and nephew. We can also send a quick message or even do a video call with the family. If you guys don't know this, we do live in Las Vegas. Most of Ricky's family still live in LA, so we don't really get to see them often. We probably go back to California, I want to say twice a year or so. We probably could have done more. So WeChat is definitely an app that we use probably every single day to call our family back in California. Anyways, my sister-in-law actually told me that you can add a credit card into our WeChat account, and it's called the WeChat Pay feature. So in China, almost everything is cashless, and a lot of the things that you can pay for is gonna be paid through Pay feature of either WeChat or another app called Alipay. I think a few years back, you can only add a local bank card, but now WeChat have added and upgraded their app where you can actually add any type of bank card. It doesn't have to be a Chinese bank card. So if you have a non-Chinese bank card like I do, I have a US-based travel credit card that I added onto my WeChat. It works now. I obviously haven't tried using it just yet, so hopefully it works out seamlessly when I land in China. Hi friends, Sarah's here, and I'm so sorry to interrupt today's video, but I just want to come on here really quickly to announce that I have a new freebie that you can download today. I have been sharing a lot of my recommendations and tips on how to go about planning your very first trip to Japan, and I created a very simple 12-day Japan itinerary that was inspired from my own trip to Japan. If you want to go check it out, the link will be down in the description box below. And now let's get back to the video. I didn't really notice, but WeChat is also kind of like a social media thing in China, similar to TikTok and probably Instagram, because you can actually find and follow people in there. And I actually just follow a few official accounts of the attractions that I want to go to in Beijing. I followed the Palace Museum account. I also followed the Drum and Bell Tower account, as well as the Summer Palace account. All of these are attractions in Beijing. And if you have done your research extensively about China, there's actually what they call mini programs inside WeChat. So all of these attractions have a mini program where you can purchase their tickets inside WeChat. I heard that you can only buy them inside the mini program if you have a Chinese ID, but I also have read blogs where you can actually purchase them inside the mini program if you have a foreign passport. I haven't tried anything because I still have about 50 days or so until I get to China at the time of me filming this video, so I'm gonna buy or try to buy the tickets closer to when I'm leaving. The next app that I have is Alipay. It is another kind of popular electronic payment app that people use in China. Honestly, I just want to download Alipay as a backup in case my WeChat does not work. The more I look into it, it's actually pretty similar to WeChat. You can add your credit card in here so you can pay for stuff in China. There's also a way where you can request a ride share. In China, it's called Didi. Again, I haven't tried it because I'm not in China yet, so I definitely will do a follow-up video after I come back. I think you can also add a contact in Alipay. I have never done it before because, like I said, Ricky's family use WeChat mostly to do video call and messages and stuff like that. So I have this as a backup just in case, because it is still pretty widely used in China as well, other than the WeChat Pay. So the next app that I have is called Airalo, and I feel like if you have traveled abroad recently, you probably have heard of this app. It is an electronic SIM app where you can basically purchase a week or 2 weeks of data using a local SIM card or a local eSIM in the country that you are visiting, so you can stay connected with your family back home, or if you want to post anything on your Instagram or other social media, you can do it this way. I actually have downloaded this app for my trip to Japan last year as a backup as well, because T-Mobile, which is my cell phone carrier, have coverage in Japan. I was just gonna gonna have Airalo as a backup just in case the data is not working, especially if, for example, I'm going to a more remote areas, not in a big city. In case the data doesn't work, I have at least a backup for myself. In Japan though, the data that I have is pretty slow, but it's still doable. I don't really check my social media during the day when I'm out and about, and we do have Wi-Fi in our hotel, so I wasn't really worried about not being able to post anything on my Instagram. I don't even think I update them every day when I was in Japan because I was so busy, and also I was so tired at the end of the day. However, in China, if you don't notice, there's actually a lot of apps that will not work in China. I actually watched a few videos on travel tips to China, and Airalo is one of the things that people highly recommend to have. And from what I understand, when you purchase the eSIM for China, the actual location for the company is outside of China, so your eSIM, the data that you get from your eSIM from Airalo, will act as a VPN as well, so you'll be able to access the apps and the websites that usually don't work in China. So I think that is really helpful. I also want to be able to connect with my sister because we're gonna be away for 3 weeks. We do have a cat. We're gonna leave her at home, and my sister is planning to come at least twice a week to feed her. So I want to make sure that I can actually do a video call with her, answer her texts if I need to. The eSIM that you can get from Airalo is actually pretty affordable. I think when I mentioned that I didn't get an eSIM when I was in Japan, people were saying that I should have because it's pretty cheap. For a 7-day, I think 1 gig data for China, it's only $5, which is crazy amazing. So if you wanna use Airalo for your next trip, make sure you use this code right here so you can get $3 off. So you can pay only $2 for a whole week of data. If you have tried Airalo before in China, let me know in the comment below. What are your thoughts about it? Do you like it? Did it work well? I think everyone who's watching this video is probably planning their first trip to China as well, and I would love to know if Airalo would work for them in China. So the next couple apps are actually a translation app because, as you might know, maybe not, but I don't really speak Chinese. I am technically Chinese. I am 98% Chinese, but unfortunately, even my parents don't speak Chinese. My grandparents, I think, can speak Chinese pretty well, but it stops with my parents, so it's kind of unfortunate. So I do need to rely on Google Translate and other translation app that I have as a backup when I'm in China. I've actually have downloaded Google Translate for my trip to Japan, and it is really helpful to translate menus as well as signs around Japan. Obviously, there are a lot of restaurants in Japan that has an English menu, and a lot, or probably most of the signs in Japan has an English translation below it, but there are some places where they don't have any translation. And if you're just curious to know what it says about a building or a site that you are looking at, you can definitely use Google Translate to take a picture, and it will translate the Japanese in the sign into English or into whatever language you speak. And a hot tip for you, if you want to make sure that your translating app works, you definitely need to download the language instead of having it live translating for you every single time. So anytime you need to translate something, even if you don't have your data on your phone, you can still translate. Another translation app that I actually downloaded is called Baidu Translate. I want to have another app as a backup. I actually watch a lot of YouTube videos, and people do highly recommend Baidu Translate app because they translate better than Google Translate. And also, as you know, most Google products probably will not work in China. I'm not sure if Google Translate will work still after I downloaded the languages that I need, but just in case that doesn't work, at least I have Baidu Translate in my phone. It is actually pretty similar with Google Translate. They have all of the features and probably more. You can always type in something in English and the app will translate it to Chinese. You can also take a picture. You can even speak to like the phone and then have them translate English to Chinese, Chinese to English. The next couple apps are for navigating throughout China, and I obviously have Apple Maps on my phone already, and like I mentioned earlier, Google products do not work in China. Google Map is actually not as updated as Apple Map, especially if you want to use it in mainland China, and a lot of people actually do recommend Apple Maps just because it works better. I watched a recent YouTube video. I will link all of the videos that I am mentioning in this video down below so you can even watch it as well. But someone was just in China recently and she mentioned that her Apple Maps looks really nicely in the different cities in China. She has been taking a lot of the public transportation and it works well. It will tell you where to go, where the station is, the platform, direction, and all of that, which I do love, and I cannot wait to try it out while I'm in China. Before moving on to the next thing in the video, I just want to interrupt this video really quickly just to invite you to subscribe to my channel. I think 98% of you who are watching my video is not a subscriber, and I would love it for you to subscribe to my channel so you won't miss any of my future videos about Japan, about cruising, travel hacking, and so much more. I hope to see you on the next one, and now let's get back to the video. And if you're someone like me who has a type A personality when they are planning a trip or the travel, it is kind of driving me crazy how I cannot look up exactly the direction of how I can get around from the airport to my hotel and from my hotel to the many attractions that I have on my list for Beijing and Guangzhou. However, if you are curious, there's actually a lot of maps out there of the Beijing subway system as well as the Guangzhou subway system. So you kind of can predict a little bit which line of subway you need to use, which station you're gonna be close to wherever you are staying in Beijing and Guangzhou. Let me tell you that the map itself is really overwhelming because there are a lot of lines in Beijing and in Guangzhou. I will leave the links to the map down below so you can check it out yourself, especially if you are planning your first trip to China. The next app that I have is, of course, Google Maps. Google Maps still works in Hong Kong, even right now as I'm sitting at home trying to plan where to go in Hong Kong and trying to figure out the direction on how to get there. It works on Google Maps. You can see the station, the line name, and where to get off, which exit and stuff like that. So it's pretty detailed. So I think it's gonna be pretty reliable when you do get to Hong Kong to use Google Maps as your main navigator. Speaking about Hong Kong, they actually have their own IC card, which is called the Octopus Card. I don't think it's super widely used, just like in Japan, because when I watch some videos on YouTube, as well as just searching places on Google Maps, a lot of restaurants and stores still use cash only or only accept cash for payment. So I think most of the time you can use your Octopus Card for the train and maybe for some of the taxi that you might want to use to go around Hong Kong, but I think it's still a good thing to have on your phone. You can technically add an Octopus Card on your Apple Wallet. However, to be able to load some money in there, you have to have a local bank card. So this is where Octopus for Tourists app comes in handy, because if you are a tourist and you have a non-local credit card that you want to use to fill up your Octopus Card, you have to have this app so you can connect the app and your Apple Wallet together, and then that is how you will be able to top up your Octopus Card. Again, I haven't really tried it personally. I just watched a lot of YouTube videos that kind of explain how the Octopus Card would work for a traveler with a foreign travel credit card like me and probably like you as well. So I'm gonna try it out once I get closer to leaving the US for my China trip. It sounds like it's gonna work because a couple people have tried it. Again, I will link those videos down below so you can check it out as well. So the next apps that I have are the airlines and the hotels app that I will be using for my China trip. I'm actually going to be flying with 4 different airlines for this trip, which is actually crazy. I'm going to be flying Southwest from Vegas to LAX, and then I'm going to be flying Singapore Airlines from LAX to Singapore and then to Beijing. And then I'm going to be flying with Cathay Pacific for the very first time from Beijing to Guangzhou, and then from Guangzhou to Hong Kong, we're actually going to be taking a train. I'm also going to take Scoot Airlines, which is the sister company of Singapore Airlines, and we are actually gonna do a secret detour while I'm in Asia or Southeast Asia. So I'm gonna tell you all about it probably after I come back. After that short detour, I'm actually gonna fly Scoot again back to Singapore, and then we're gonna be flying from Singapore to LA with Singapore Airlines. And of course, to close everything out, we're gonna fly Southwest from LAX to Vegas. We still have about a month, 50 days ish away from the trip, but it's just crazy how I'm gonna be flying different airlines this time, and it's a lot of hopping, and I'm kind of excited and I can't wait to share everything with you. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the vlogs that I will be uploading once I'm back. Like I said earlier, I also have have some of the hotels app that I have been using for my travel the past few years. I have my Hilton app because we're gonna be staying at a Hilton hotel, and we're also gonna be staying at a Hyatt hotel, so I do have the Hyatt app on my phone. I feel like it's just very easy to have the app to check into your flight, to check on your hotel if you can check in or not already. And sometimes even for Hilton, you can choose your room if you want to be on the higher floor or whatever. But I know that sometimes when it is outside of the US, you have to actually go to the check-in area, and then that's when you can actually request stuff, because they have to do a little bit more procedures, because they have to get your passport information, verify everything. So last but not least, I do have a couple apps that I use to purchase tickets to attractions and even transportation. So I do have Klook, and I've used it for my Japan trip, and I am planning to use it again for my trip to China. If you are trying to buy tickets, even for like your local attractions or event, make sure to check out Klook. Use this code to get $5 off the next time you book something on Klook. I am planning to book my tour for the Great Wall in Beijing through Klook. I like that it has a lot of reviews, a lot of photos, and a lot of people actually leave really detailed reviews. So some of the questions that you might have about that tour probably would be answered in other people's review. I'm also planning to get the high-speed rail ticket from Hong Kong to Guangzhou from Klook. I think you can also get it from the official website, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be complicated, and Klook make it pretty easy to book everything in just one go. I also have Trip.com app downloaded on my phone. I watch a couple videos saying that because Trip.com is a Chinese company, they might have more options available in there for your trip to China. I honestly haven't really checked out Trip.com for my China trip a lot, but I feel like if there is anything that I couldn't find on Klook, I'm definitely gonna try to go on Trip.com to see if I can buy it from there. What are some of the other apps that you have downloaded as you prepare for your first trip to China? I would love to know what are some of the other apps that I might need to download before I go to China, so leave them in the comment below. So next week, I'm gonna try and upload a video about how I prepare to go to China for the first time, the things that I have to apply for, the things that I have to check for, and stuff like that. So if you want to check it out, it's gonna be right here in about a week.